Should you play retail WoW in 2025? Honest answer. Well, I'm doing it. So, I mean, I guess I'm leading by example. The answer for me would be yes. And especially right now, I think Midnight has promise, and that it's Metzin's first real story expansion. He's telling the story. It's going to be a full-on Metzin expansion. So I'm thinking it could be really good. And right now, honestly, this last 11.2 patch is really a prelude to Midnight. That's what it is. Ethereals, Demancius, all this shit is really leading. It's a pre-patch almost for Midnight. So jumping in right now, probably a good time to get in actually and get these things done. There's so many catch-up mechanics. You could easily catch up to everybody else. So the answer for me, probably yes. But let's see what Marcellian has to say with his honest answer. Here we go.
Over the last 20 years, World of Warcraft players have been asking a few recurring questions. Is WoW dead? Is Classic better than Retail? Should I come back to WoW? And if it's not one of these, then it's definitely a variation of them in some sense. Hello there, welcome back to Marcellian Online. Let's see if I can answer all of these questions in this video with as much objective criticism of the game and as little personal bias as possible. Because these are very interesting questions to ask about a video game. Usually, it should be something simple like, is the game fun? Can I afford to pay a game subscription? But that doesn't seem to apply to World of Warcraft. And it's starting to crop up in other live service video games like League of Legends. It's clearly a product of time, crossed together with emotional investments.
Sure, I mean, look, any game that's been around for this long, I mean, it's had some staying power for sure. 20 years of WoW, it's got its ups and downs, right? You're not going to be all ups for 20 years. So we've had moments, in Shadowlands, what I've told you, it's a good time to join. No, that's probably something you want to skip. Dragonflight, yeah, it had its moments. It had good, foundational rebuilds for the game in terms of some systems and flying and talents points and all that shit. In terms of story, the War Within, the early parts of it, you could have missed it. You could have bypassed it. It wasn't really necessary to be there. Do we need to know about Earthen and, Azeroth's anal core weight? Maybe not. Maybe not. But what I will say, beyond that, getting into, the World Soul Saga as a whole, how the game's been feeling, I will say that since Season 2 of this expansion, it's been feeling better. And I think Season 3 is going to build on that momentum and get even better. So right now, I feel like the game's getting to a good spot. If you want to play through this whole World Soul Saga, which is what Blizzard's been selling to us, this is the big saga that's going to end all the stories that we know as we know it. Right now might be a good time to join, right? Right now, I think this is the best story we've been getting in The War Within, and I think the story is only going to get better at Midnight, so maybe it is a good time to play.
Those tend to have that effect on people, especially when they've survived for as long as 2 decades at this point. Whenever somebody asks whether it's a good time to come back to WoW or not, they usually layer the question, subconsciously or not, with the implication
Every random thank you for the sub on YouTube.
That WoW can recreate the magic they used to feel with the game once upon a time. I will be honest with you on this one. Nostalgia cannot be recreated. The genie is out of the bottle, Pandora's box has already been opened. I understand the longing for that time when you first stepped into the game and saw the open world of Azeroth, whether it was 20 years ago in Vanilla, or Wrath, or any other expansion. And with this, let's talk a bit about Classic WoW. And whenever I will say Classic WoW, I will be referring to a modern relaunch of the old versions of WoW, whichever expansion they may be, and not the actual World of Warcraft we played back in 2004. If you haven't been up to date with what WoW is doing today, there are quite a few versions of the game you can play, one of which is the classic version of WoW. That started a few years ago with the vanilla version of the game and subsequently released expansion after expansion, where now the classic WoW caught up to Mists of Pandaria. Whether this is an amusing twist of fate or not, people do actually enjoy this, and
The question is, are they going to do classic WoD? I don't know. Supposedly there are surveys out there right now where that's a question. Do you want to see classic Warlords of Draenor? The story of WoD, I still say till today, was good. It's the problem with WoD is it just ran out of content, and garrisons were somewhat isolating. Have I watched the Zaxxas video? No, but I will. That sounds like a good one. We'll see if they do classic WoD. That'd be kind of funny. Who knows? But I think they are going to announce, like, we are working on Classic Plus. I think we're going to get that announcement with the Midnight announcement. I do. And the fact that Blizzard yesterday put out like a whole post about using their IP and how it's not allowed and all this shit, I think they were taking a direct shot at the Turtle WoWs and the other, what's the other one called? I don't know what the hell. There's another Ascensions, that's the other one. Ascensions WoW and Turtle WoW, which are iterations. They are basically Classic Plus versions made by the community. Blizzard put out that blue post yesterday saying, you can't do that. Don't forget, you can't do that shit. We will take it down. I think they did that because they're about to announce Classic Plus, and then simultaneously they're going to take down all of the other versions of the game out there that currently exist.
Sure, most of them are those who cannot stand to play
Classic
retail WoW,
Shadowlands,
or
oh
at the
god.
very least look for a break and hope they can recreate some of the lost magic we just talked about. I cannot speak for all of them, but I can tell you my 2 cents as someone who has been playing WoW on and off ever since Vanilla and religiously since Legion. Vanilla World of Warcraft is likely my favorite MMO, period. And when I say this, I consider Retail WoW a different MMO to Vanilla, which is a different MMO to the Burning Crusade and all subsequent expansions. Vanilla WoW was a game where the main character was indeed the world you were in. There were
True.
60 levels to go through and 2 huge continents to explore, filled with Warcraft factions, quest hubs, insane dungeons, and a lot of Dungeons and Dragons feel in its own gameplay. The Burning Crusade was the expansion I chewed through the most and loved to bits. Yet even TBC couldn't give me the magic I first felt when I made my first ever WoW character and started exploring Mulgore. With all of this in mind, I have played Classic WoW, have a bunch of tunes I leveled through the starting zones, played with Marcellian, but also played the hardcore.
Yeah, what's that old saying? You can't step into the same stream. You can't step into the same river twice, or the same river for the first time twice. Yeah, no, there's something out there about rivers and I don't know, teabagging it or something like that. I have no idea. But the adage goes basically that you can't re-experience something for the first time more than one time, okay? So yeah, nostalgia will always be strong. We'll always have strong nostalgic feels for the old version of the game. But when people ask me like, hey, I'm coming to WoW or I'm coming back to WoW, should I play the classic version or the retail version? I usually say play retail. Because to me, playing a version of the game that has a dead end is just unfulfilling. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe other people don't give a shit about, the continuation of what they're doing. But I don't like feeling like I'm progressing in something that has an end. I just don't. That's why, I prefer to play retail because I know it's just going to continue on. It's going to continue on good or bad, I don't know. But it's just going to continue, and my progress is going to continue with it. The only time I'd be willing to take like a full-on reset is if they do a WoW 2. I know a lot of people are, they don't want to let go of the shit they have in the game. I'd be fine with it. If they want to reset, do a reset on the game and take us back to the very beginning and actually build almost a new game in the WoW version, I would be okay with it. I'd do it.
Servers of Classic that remain currently my favorite ways to engage with it.
Nailed it.
And
Great
at
comparison.
least
Yeah, no
for
problem.
me, as enjoyable as it was, it did not capture the feeling I had as a teenager 2 decades ago, no matter how many classic expansions they keep releasing. They are good games, but I played them already. I want new Warcraft, better Warcraft. So this brings us to Retail WoW, which is indeed new Warcraft. That's not up for debate, it's just objectively the case. The better Warcraft part is difficult to debate since it's very subjective and, as far as I'm concerned, hard to compare with past expansions when the development team was a different set of people living in a different time with different principles and cultural backgrounds. What I will be doing instead is tell you what Retail WoW is today, what to expect as a returning or new player, and answer the title of this video with unavoidably my own subjective bias. First of all, the classes changed drastically, which makes it easy to approach a different request people have had for years now, which is for the WoW 2.0. A lot of people refer to WoW 2.0 as a what if they remade WoW with something like Unreal Engine.
I don't, Unreal Engine, this and that, killing the art WoW style and stuff like that. I understand those arguments, but damn, if they redid the game, I'd play the shit out of it. I just think I would. And you know what? You could say, oh, I don't want to redo everything. It wouldn't be redoing everything. It's just a reset. I don't know how they would do it. Back to the basics. Demancius wins. We end up back in Elwyn Forest. I have no idea. There's ways to do it even through the lore. But some people would want to leave. I think it would be a big boon. I think it'd be one of the most popular game launches ever to see a WoW 2. I think a lot of people would come back.
graphics, something that we can all agree wouldn't be WoW anymore, but rather a fantasy game with
Called
orcs
it
and
WoW 2
elves
video.
that uses WoW names for things. If we can put that to the side, retail WoW is as close to what a 2.0 restart.
I don't need a shiny graphics update. You know, graphically you can upgrade it a little bit, but I don't need Unreal 20 WoW Engine 17 version of the game. Just new.
Of the franchise would be if you compare
Just something
vanilla
new.
and old school WoW to what we have today. With all its good and bad points, retail WoW is what modern gaming looks like. Sometimes that's an awesome thing, other times it's not. Getting back to the classes now, they play almost nothing like what you may remember. Of course, Fire Mage still shoots fireballs and pyroblasts while warriors still charge and execute. But when you dive deeper into how they play their class, things will change. For most of the classes, this is a very good thing. If there is one thing that has kept WoW above its competition, is its combat gameplay. Criticize WoW all you like, even if most of it is fair and deserved. But you
World of Warcraft has the best combat of any MMO. I always say it. It's the most fluid. It feels the best. When you swing an axe in WoW, you feel like you're hitting something. We can joke about clipping and all that shit, but I just feel like when you watch other MMOs get played or when you play other MMOs yourself, there's something, it's like eerie about it. I don't know what it is. When you swing your weapon, it just doesn't feel the same as it does in WoW. Maybe it's the fluidity of their animations, the way you interact with the environment. I have no idea what it is. I just know there's something to WoW that other MMOs don't have when it comes to doing combat, when it comes to doing your abilities. It's the best tab targeter out there.
You cannot argue WoW has likely the best PvE combat gameplay on the market. It's polished, responsive, visually impressive, and memorable. Classes feel different based on which ones you play, whether you decide to DPS or tank, or even heal. Every few patches to every few expansions, they get reworked and 99% of the time improved. Nothing is perfect, of course, but by the time the trilogy of the World Soul Saga ends, it's likely your class or spec would have been reworked at least once to improve its overall gameplay.
Sure.
And now that I've mentioned it, the World Soul Saga is a trilogy of expansions, a journey upon which we just embarked with the first chapter, The War Within.
Yeah.
If the story, feel, and atmosphere has been something you enjoyed in the past expansions, it's likely you will love these ones since Chris Metzen, the one responsible for most of the world building and story directions we had in Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Legion, and so on, is back on board with the World Soul Saga, starting heavily with the Midnight expansion that's just around the corner. Already the story improvement with the latest 11.2 patch is very evident.
No, I mean he's right. I don't know if this clickbait. He's talking about what he said he would talk about. That's WoW in 2025, and I totally agree with this. It's almost like picking up on a trilogy when the second movie is about to hit theaters, right? And the second movie is building up all this hype, and you never watch the first one, so you get to binge watch it. Essentially, you're going to get to binge play if you come back and play right now. You're going to get to binge all the content right now from The War Within, and then jump straight into Midnight, which is probably going to be the better of the two expansions. And then obviously you get to finish it out with, The Last Titan. So you get to jump into the World Soul Saga, probably one of the better times to do so, right? Because you haven't really missed much in terms of big-time story plays, and you can catch up on all of it really quick right now. So that's why, playing in 2025, again, I think it's a good time to come back.
And personally, I haven't felt more at home in WoW since Legion, and home is a key word for retail WoW at the moment. Story aside, what else has changed in the game? Well, you still have awesome raids.
Dragonflight is a good prequel. Yeah, it is, but where the hell's Iridicron right now? What the hell happened to him? Did Blizzard forget about him? I just thought about that. Like right now, I don't want to give like too many story beats right now because people are playing through 11.2 right now. But with everything going on with Xal'atath, where the hell is he? Because he was supposed to be on her side. Where's Iridicron? He chilling? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he got the Dark Heart. He brought it to her. He did all this shit. He's probably waiting for the last Titan. That's probably what it is. Because his whole thing is he wants to beat the shit out of the Titans. So he probably just sitting there on the sideline waiting for them to get here so then he could try to fight them. Maybe. Imagine he waited all this time and he just gets one-shotted. Imagine, like Aman'Thul just flicks him off a cliff or something and that's the end of him. He waited 3 freaking expansions to get one-shotted. That'd be funny.
the best in the industry even, with insane
Sam
boss
is the
fights,
last Titan. He's
crazy
in the yeah,
visuals,
he will be
and
the last
awesome scopes. No matter what goes to shit in an expansion, for some reason, the raids are still stellar. If you ever enjoyed raiding in WoW in the past, this alone should answer this video for you. But we go on. Dungeons now have a Mythic Plus version to them where they can get tougher as your Mythic Plus level goes higher, making dungeons eventually scale higher than a Mythic raid. It's challenging and provides a lot of replayability for players, considering you can get loot similar to Mythic raid, albeit at a much lower and unpredictable rate. Raids are still kings in the source of loot. Unfortunately, PvP has seemed to have trailed off over the years, even though we have new game modes for PvP like Calm Stomp, Blitz, and solo queues as such. If you enjoyed PvP in the past, these are likely features you have been asking for or wanted the game to have. Whether or not this is still good, it's actually a test since we don't normally play a lot of PvP here on the channel. But if you are not an enjoyer of either one of these game modes, The War Within launched with Delves, an open world solo dungeon style content.
Yeah, this is really good. You know, you want to come back and play the game, but you don't have friends. Guess what? Most WoW players don't have friends. We're weird degenerates. So how are you gonna have friends? It doesn't make any sense. The good thing is right now, this is the most soloable the game has ever been. Delves are great solo content. They are. And they're a way you can gear out through them. You can upgrade your gear through them. You can literally get a decent level of gear right now from the game without ever running a dungeon or interacting with anybody, doing raid ever. So, yeah, you're looking for something to do in your free time. You can literally play this game as a solo game. Take the multiplayer out of the MMO and enjoy it probably at the same time. Oh, and single button rotation your way through it. Yeah. That's right.
Where you take Bran Bronzebeard, although some would wish we could just solo it without him, and dive into a cave, a hole, a bad guy hideout, finish a few objectives, and loot a bunch of stuff. These two can go up in difficulty while progressively increasing the rewards you get. It's a relaxing, slow-paced content that you can do without the necessity of getting other players involved. On top of this are the multiple events that happen in the open world, tied to each faction's reputation gains. Reputation, which now is called Renown, and has a much simpler tracking bar that rewards you a lot.
Yeah, I will say Renown is the best version of Reputation we've ever had in the game. I think Renown was an improvement on Reputation grinds for sure. It's much more visually appealing. It makes more sense. You can easily tell how long it's going to take you to get to shit. Whereas before you had that arbitrary bar that you had to fill up with hundreds of thousands of reputation points, and you never really knew, how long it's going to take you to fill it. Now it's just it's 2 weeks I can do this shit. So now it makes way more sense. Obviously, it's more rewarding because you have better rewards to come with that. I just think right now we have too many Renown tracks. Like right now, every time a patch launches, I feel like we got 6 more Renown tracks to fill out. So it's getting a bit ridiculous. We don't need that many. But other than that, I think Renown's been a great adaptation of Reputation.
The way similarly to a battle pass. Every few weeks we have a new event, whether it is revisit old dungeons from the past expansions, a new threat happening in a zone with new rewards, and more recently, the lore walking system that lets you talk with Cho to explore past WoW stories, explain origins of characters, and generally give you lore to engage with. But this is now. I mentioned home before because it was one of the key factors the WoW team and Chris Metzen wanted to focus on.
Oh yeah, and if you've ever wanted to have player housing in WoW, that's happening. So if you want to come back just for that, there will be people who do. You guys think I'm joking right now. There will be people who come back to WoW just to do player housing and play this as a cozy game. They are not going to raid. They're not going to do anything else. They are only going to do player housing, and the only time they'll venture out into the open world is to get shit for their house. And Blizzard knows that. That's why they're putting it in the game.
Giving us our home back that we felt we belonged to in the past. As such, the Midnight expansion is bringing player housing. And honestly, there's nothing more homey than that. You'll be able to make a home in an Elwyn Forest-like zone or Durotar-like zone. Customize it how you want to. Be a part of a neighborhood with friends, guildies, or strangers, and participate in events. And this is just what we know so far, since the whole thing is yet to be fully revealed. When it comes to the basic game systems, most of it has been revamped and generally improved. Professions are remade to have their own progression system and get you to deeply specialize in aspects of crafting that appeal to you. As all MMO things, these imply a grind, but also every profession has a way to craft useful things for endgame, to the point where armor and weapon crafting professions can beat heroic raiding gear. If you were never a mythic raider or even planning on being so, Professions lets you access items almost as strong, something that any RPG should have and was missing from WoW for a very long time. Speaking of gear and items, you can upgrade them now. The upgrade system takes a bit to get used to, but to put it simply, play the game and you will get the materials necessary to upgrade the items eventually. This
Right.
makes it more engaging to loot a cool sword or a helmet and know that by playing it, you can make it stronger, bridging the gap between content difficulties.
Yeah, the upgrade system was a nice add from Dragonflight. I like the upgrade system a lot. It does make it feel like when you're running stuff and you're doing things, you're almost always gaining item level. That's what it feels like. So if the last time you played WoW was like Shadowlands and you never experienced this upgrade system, you're gonna like it. You're gonna like it because it's great. I actually think it's great. I just don't like the stones. I don't think we need Valor stones. Just keep it crest and then make it as it is. But otherwise, it's a good system.
But there are still problems. The difficulty and complexity of the game have also gone up, to the point where if you want challenging and competitive endgame, you will inevitably have to download add-ons and look up guides on different external sources. Some classes and specs are difficult to play, where you may find your favorite one a bit out of reach. But there's also a flip side. Other classes have become incredibly simplistic. Some good, like Retribution Paladin, one of the strongest DPS classes in the game and the most popular for about 2 years now. Others like Unholy Death Knight, which has been stripped from a lot of its flavor and fantasy. There are bugs in the game still, and every release of a patch seems to come with either some lag issues or FPS issues, provided you are not already running the...
And add-ons don't help that at all. I say play with minimal add-ons. To me, that's the way to play the game. Because FPS does get affected by add-ons for sure, especially when you just get into these crazy weak auras, like just thousands of weak auras in a fight. Yeah, you're going to cause some lag for yourself.
Latest state-of-the-art specs for your machine. The story and feel up until this point have felt very soft,
it's
safe,
all right.
and lame, for lack of a better word. And I'm saying this because it could be an opinion you have been hearing a lot of. These are just a few of the most annoying issues you might encounter, but they are important to be mentioned because, as opposed to past years where we would only wonder if things can get fixed, reworked, or improved, now we actually know. The devs do regular interviews with content creators, us included, where we learn that the complexity of the game is something
When's
they
my
want
interview?
to slowly take out and make the game more approachable and less reliant on add-ons. This already started with a lot of UI customizable options you never had in the past, alongside a new feature called Cooldown Manager that simply functions like add-ons you might have seen in the past, with more changes announced on the way. There's also a way to play the game with only one button if you so desire. It's not an efficient way to play, but you can go ahead and ignore a lot of...
It actually is an efficient way to play. It's pretty damn efficient. People have been raiding with it. Obviously, you can do delves with it. For sure, open world quests with it. I mean, it applies to basically everything. You can use this thing. Now, are you going to be the highest DPS in the entire group? Probably not. But are you going to be the lowest either? Probably not. It's been proven that this thing actually puts out decent numbers. You can't really tank with it, and you can't really heal with it. I will say that. But if you just want a DPS, a single button actually works.
The complexity that a spec would provide you with by just having one button that you engage with in your rotation. Classes, specs, dungeons, and raids are constantly discussed about and iterated upon so that community feedback gets listened to. This doesn't happen 100% of the time, and sometimes it happens slower than we would like or even deserve, but it is happening. As for the story, lore, and atmosphere, as much as it has been our personal disappointment, it definitely seems to not be the case with 11.2 and definitely
11.2
changing with the Midnight expansion. The direction seems to go back to its roots and return us home, as Chris Metzen so gloriously put it in his BlizzCon presentation.
Now is the time to come home.
As for my personal opinion, with all its criticism, WoW has always been a good game to play for about a month each patch, just to see the new raid and explore the new story. If you are the kind of player who hasn't done that, you likely missed out on us going to Argus to fight the Burning Legion's main factories and finally defeat it.
I would say most people played through Legion. Most people probably did play Legion. For a lot of people, that probably was their last time they played this game. Legion was a good expansion.
You missed out on defeating Ajara in the Forgotten Nazjatar zone. Underwater, by the way. You probably missed us going back to the Black Empire Nyalotha and defeating N'Zoth, the last old god. And definitely missed the Emerald Dream, a zone that was supposed to be in the game since Alpha World of Warcraft. Now with 11.2, we are going to Koresh, the home of the Ethereals that we encountered back in the Burning Crusade, and we'll be fighting the biggest proclaimed raid boss ever designed, Dimensius. If you are just a seasonal player checking in occasionally on WoW, then we believe it is always worth playing it. Now, if you are looking to come back home to your characters, to your cities, to your stories, then this is the real answer you deserve. We are steadily feeling more at home with each patch up until we will have our very own home in a forest or harsh land of Azeroth. Soon we will revisit old forgotten cities like Silvermoon. The stories are coming full circle to give us answers we have been asking for.
Yeah, you're probably not coming back to Dalaran or Darnassus. Just spoiler alert there. That's not going to happen for you. I quit back in WoD and just came back. Nice. What? Damn. Quit back in WoD and just came back. I wonder if there's a lot of people that did that. Obviously, a lot of people unsubbed during WoD.
Over a decade. At least this is what is going to come very soon. Nothing is ever certain. If you want more details, particularly regarding the changes in the story and overall vibe of future World of Warcraft, check out our video on the origins of the Ethereals and why these stories are some of the best WoW has ever told.
Yeah, nice. No, I agree with a lot of what he said. And I do think just from 11.2, because Metzen did play a role in 11.2. He had to curve up the expansion a little bit and kind of change it up a little bit to kind of bring it into Midnight. So 11.2 kind of is that for him. I do think things are getting better. I think the story is getting better. And I think Midnight, hopefully, my hopes are up on it, that it's just going to be a better overall expansion. Not that this one was bad, but yeah, the story was a bit wishy-washy at the beginning. Now it's starting to get good. So that's why I have even more hope for Midnight and what that story is going to be like. And then, of course, The Last Titan, too. A nice video from Marcellian. Time to come back to WoW, boys.